There you
Yeah,
go.
just a little mouse. That's neat. Hello everyone, welcome to Advanced Live Stream. It's Monday, we're glad to have you with us to practice some English. Our guest host this week is Teacher David.
What's up, Peter? I'm here with you on the show. I got a lot of hats on.
Yes, we both have a lot of hats on, as you can see, and that's an English expression related to our topic for today. Our topic is side hustle. What's a side hustle? Well, a side hustle is something you do on the side. It's not your main activity. It's not your main job. And hustle has several meanings in English, but the one we're talking about today is where it means job. So a side hustle is a side job, another job that you have in addition to your main job. Now that still doesn't quite explain why we're wearing so many hats. Why are we wearing so many hats?
Well, in English, there's a saying that goes, if you have lots of different duties, oftentimes very different kinds of duties in one workplace, then you would say that you wear a lot of hats. That could also be relevant to just your life. Maybe you work as, I don't know, a delivery guy, and also as a cowboy, and also as a doctor. Right? You
Sure.
have a lot of hats. You have a lot of different duties. You wear a lot of hats.
Right, and one way to describe a side hustle is one of the many hats you wear. That's sort of the idea of our topic today. I'm anyway going to take these off because
I'm
it's
leaving mine on.
really quite hot under all those hats.
I need the end. Good afternoon, Steve.
Hey,
Thank you
Steve.
so much
Good to
for
see
tuning
you.
in.
But just so you know, this is an idea from our magazine, as always, an actual article, The Hustling Generation, in your July issue of Advanced Magazine. And it's about how millennials, rather than Gen Z, are the generation that is most involved in side hustles, in having a second job or sometimes even a third job.
That's right. I always thought it was the Gen Z, but I guess they're the ones who are the most vocal about their side hustles on social media.
Right, yeah, that's
'Cause, yeah.
exactly. That's one of the points of the article, is that it's kind of correcting a misunderstanding about who is most tied to the idea of a side hustle. It's actually millennials and not Gen Z, although they both do it.
That's right.
In fact, one of the points of the article is that as things develop, we may get to a point where everyone will have at least one side hustle or another. But let's bring you guys into it now with our poll question. Do you have a side hustle? Do you have a side hustle? Yes, I have your order. Delivering food, a side hustle, popular perhaps particularly here in Taipei. I used to have a side hustle. I don't anymore. Just my main job. I got the one job and that's it, and that's fine. Or play some disco and I'll show you my side hustle. And that is, yeah. There was an actual song in the 70s, the height of the disco era, called The Hustle.
Yeah.
So that is another meaning of the word hustle.
Classic.
Maybe
song.
you've seen the American movie Saturday Night Fever with John Travolta doing with the flared collars and everything, doing
Very
this
famous.
business, the white jacket. One of the meanings of hustle that will come up, so we wanted to make you aware of that. But we're talking today about side hustles.
That's right.
And Agatha, hello Agatha.
Ooh.
Always good to have you with us. Being a parent is like doing a second job. Absolutely.
Oh my goodness, it is, yes. And one thing I think
You
is...
would know.
I do. And something that I think is really interesting is these days, some employers are encouraging mothers to put motherhood on their resume in some way, which kind of makes sense. There are so many different
Absolutely.
skills that you use in raising a child. And it's an incredibly high stress thing to do, especially when your baby has been just born. You have to keep it alive. You have to build a relationship with it. You have to schedule out all these different things that the baby needs. It really is hard work. So yeah, that is like a second job.
Yeah, that is something definitely for the resume. That's interesting. I hadn't heard about that. But in terms of having a side hustle, let's give you some vocabulary to talk about and think about a side hustle, whether you have one or not. Because if you don't have one, it's likely one of your friends does. So you'll be able to talk to him or her better about it after today. Our first vocab word is augment.
Augment.
augment, A-U-G-M-E-N-T, augment. What does augment mean?
To augment is kind of to just kind of add to something. A really good example that you might hear nowadays, especially if you like technology, is the phrase augmented reality.
Yes.
So it's a big word, but think of it this way. A lot of people like to play Pokemon Go, right? In the game of Pokemon Go, you have a map on your phone that shows you where the Pokemon are, and you walk around, it uses your phone's GPS to help you go to where the Pokemon are. And even though you can't see them with your eyes, if you look down at your phone and you say, oh, there's the Pokemon, right? It adds something to reality. It augments reality with the Pokemon world.
Right, and so when talking about side hustles, side hustle will augment your income, augment your financial situation, and that's why a lot of people got into side hustles in the first place.
Steve has seen Saturday Night Live, or Saturday Night Fever.
Saturday Night Fever. Yes.
Yeah.
Saturday Night Live, also a television show.
Also,
Saturday Night Fever, the movie, but...
Staying alive, staying alive. Okay, I'm sorry, continue.
No, I hear that beat and, I'm just taking over. But Steve says, I like the movie that at the beginning, they played the Bee Gees song, Staying Alive, right? Great song, never gets old, absolutely. Ask Teacher Dave about that.
That bass line is classic.
Oh, it is. It's irresistible. But in terms of the side hustle, we talked about augment, to add to supplement your income. That's because often we need to make ends meet. And there's an English idiom for you. Make ends meet. 3 simple words. We put them together and we get what? We get something.
It's just imagine having a piece of string, right? And to make the ends meet, to make it like a circle, then you would tie the ends together, right? Now, financially, that means that you're able to basically afford all of your expenses for a particular amount of time, like say a month for your salary. You want to be able to have enough money at the beginning and end of the month that you can make it to the next month, right? You want to make the ends meet. A lot of people make jokes about how at the beginning of the month they can eat steak, and at the end of the month they're eating palmier, right? Because by the end of the month you have no more money and you're just waiting for your salary to come in.
Right, and sometimes if that salary isn't quite as high as your expenses are, you may have difficulty making ends meet. And you'll hear that expression a lot. I'm having trouble making ends meet, so I had to develop a side hustle to augment my income. You see how it all connects together. But another word for us here today, talking about side hustles, monetize. Monetize. This is a good one. It doesn't mean turning something into a painting by Monet, for those art fans out there. This monetize, talking about money, and it means to get money out of something that you do. Like a YouTube video. Now, you know probably a bit more about that than me. I know that people can make money from YouTube videos. They can monetize them. And that's just if you get enough views, then you can sell advertising on the video. Is that how it works?
That's basically what it is, but it's a little bit complicated. There are certain rules that your channel needs to meet before it can be monetized. And the way that you make money on it is, yes, by selling basically advertising, and the amount of views you get can determine how much money you're able to make. And you can also monetize your Instagram channel or Instagram account and other social media venues as well. It's a big thing now, monetization, being able to monetize your social media presence.
Right, and technically speaking, you can monetize something that isn't digital. If you are if you spend a lot of time in the gym, know a lot about the human body and how to get it in shape, you can monetize that skill by starting a personal training side hustle. Tell people how to exercise better, lose some weight, whatnot. But let's bring you guys into it again just before we go on with some more vocabulary here and go to our discussion question for today.
Yes,
what is, and before that, I always forget, but let's look at the poll results. I always just put the poll out there and I never remember to check it. Do you have a side hustle? Yes, 8%. So just a few of you actually have a side hustle. 17%, I used to have a side hustle. Okay, that's a bit more. Just my main job. Hey, great. That's 50% of you out there. Great. Again, maybe you have a friend who has a side hustle. Play some disco and I'll show you 25% of you have a side hustle that may not be monetizable, but is absolutely groovy nevertheless. So you keep working on that side hustle.
Keep working on.
You know, invest in maybe some polyester leisure suits, and we'll see if we can't monetize it, help you monetize it for you. But
You
anyway,
can tell by the way I walk my
I'm a
ladies'
woman's
man.
man. No time to talk.
Anyway.
But we have time to talk, and we're talking about our discussion question, which is, what is your side hustle? Now, since most of you have said you don't have a side hustle, let's change that question a little bit. Let's tweak it to, what would you have for a side hustle if you wanted to, if you had to, if you were having difficulty making ends meet and you had to augment your income? What would you make into a side hustle? What skill do you have? What passion do you have? What extra talent do you have that you don't use really in your main job, but that you could use to the side if push came to shove?
Push came to shove.
As we
That's
say,
another good one.
if it became necessary to do that instead of just optional. So, what was your side hustle? Or do you have a side hustle, A? And B, if not, what would it be?
In the past, I have had a minor side hustle just doing proofreading for mobile video games.
For mobile video games?
Yeah. Like,
see, everyone needs proofreading. It's not just law documents.
It's really bizarre, actually, how much there is out there. But it's like, you know, some country in Asia wants to release a mobile game and they want to expand their market. So they'll get ChatGPT basically to translate a bunch of text, or like, and not just in-game text, but also stuff like menus and options and settings and stuff like that. And then they'll send it to a native English speaker and then just have them fix it. Have them make sure that it's, you know, like proper English, it sounds natural and stuff like that. And it's actually kind of fun sometimes. If it's a good game, then it's actually kind of fun. I'm not playing the game, but I'm like reading the text and like able to sort of follow the story. And sometimes it's really interesting. Sometimes it's boring as all get out. But it's always but it's a side hustle. You do what you got to do.
Steve. I was thinking about having a side hustle because when I was doing a design management, I was thinking having a side hustle by being a popular YouTuber, by telling stories using my comic books. That's right, Steve, you're the comic book guy. I remember that.
You should do it, Steve. That's a pretty cool idea, man.
Yeah.
I should not necessarily become a singer, but I really appreciate that, Evangeline. It's very sweet of you.
Teacher Dave should have a side hustle as a singer. Very sweet. But that touches on something that will kind of bring us back into our vocabulary, and that is that a side hustle is not necessarily, it can be a skill, an actual skill that you have or that you've been taught, but it can also be a creative outlet. Your side hustle can be a creative outlet. That was, in fact, how I would answer the question, my side hustle. I had a side hustle, you could say, for 20 years. Back when I used to live in New York City, before I came to Taipei, I was a theater actor. And so theater acting, for the most part, doesn't pay the bills. You have to become very successful at it before you can really start making a living off of it. So I worked by day as an office temp at a nonprofit organization. I worked at a bank for a while. That would pay the rent, put food on the table. Then at night, I would go out and rehearse, or I would audition. That was my side hustle, but it wasn't really a monetized hustle because I usually didn't make very much money off of it. It was more of a creative outlet, a way that I expressed myself creatively. Thank you. That's why he's our guest host here. And that can be a side hustle. It wasn't for me, but it could be for you. We got another comment here from Steve that I drew, the comic books, finishing his previous comment, that I drew sharing fun stuff to show people how to entertain the others, to make them happy.
That's wonderful.
There you go, Steve. That sounds like a great side hustle.
Just to bless people. That's such a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Another word here for side hustle, automate. Now this is if you have a side hustle that is mainly digital, that you're mainly operate through the internet or with a device of some sort. What do we mean by automate?
Automation is just the process of making something automatic, right? So, for example, if you have, Steve, if you start your own website that has your videos and your comic books, and you want to release a newsletter to all your fans, you can set something up on your website to automatically send out a newsletter maybe once every 2 weeks. You could automate the process. It's basically what it means. Just make something automatic.
Yeah, it's a word, again, that you'll find in the article about side hustles today, so we wanted to share it with you here in the live stream as well. So, just got time for a few more here, but here's a good one. Like-minded. It's a hyphenated word here. Like-minded. And like-minded means people whose minds are alike.
That's right.
You know, people who think the same way. And one of the points of the article is that a side hustle can be a challenge. It's fun to talk about it, think about it, dream about it, but it's also, remember, a second job. So it can take some time, it takes some of your resources, and you want to, the point the article makes is that you want to try and find like-minded people in order to find support for your people who are also doing side hustles or have this creative outlet that you have, so that you can sustain each other in doing it when the going gets tough.
That's right. If you guys use any kinds of online social platforms and you are doing a side hustle, especially if it's online or something like that, use Discord. There's lots of different Discord channels that you could join. Like, for example, if you like programming or something, or graphic design, you could find a Discord channel with other graphic designers that are maybe also doing it as a side hustle, and then you can support each other.
Yes. Very, very valuable, I think, in developing a side hustle. Certainly the community that I found in doing theater was absolutely essential to sustaining us who were doing it, because we all very rarely made any money. So finding like-minded people was very important. But whether you're surrounded with like-minded people or not, time keeps moving forward. And so we have to bid you farewell for today, for this Monday. We will, of course, be back next Monday, but it's time for us to put our hats back on, our multiple hats, go back to our multiple hustles. But we have one more goodbye word for you, and that word is juggle. Simple word, juggle. It's like the circus clown who juggles the balls, keeps 3 balls in the air with just 2 hands, sometimes even 4 or 5 balls, and that's, you know, figuratively what you're doing with the side hustle. You are juggling more than one responsibility, more than one task, and so on and so forth. So good word to know.
And you're welcome, Steve. Come back
Steve,
next time for more.
And thank you, Agatha, also. Thank you. Always good to have both you guys with us, and all of you who are watching, whether you comment or not. Remember, speaking of comments, to get in the habit of leaving a comment either during the live stream or especially after the live stream, like days after the live stream. Go ahead, leave a comment. We're going to be restructuring things here so that we respond to comments that you leave well after the broadcast, well after the live stream itself. So be thinking about other questions you have about words that we talked about today, about other words you have about English, and we're going to be getting back to you on that. Okay. But for now, take care and keep staying alive.